Alright, so here's an article today. Texas AG says Austin School District's Pride Week is breaking state laws. So, let's see. Unmistakably constitutes human sexuality instruction governed by state law. So, what this person doesn't realize is that his position is also establishing something that would be represented as governed by state law also. And so the reality is that the way that governance and the government should be approaching things is that diversity and non-discrimination is something that the government should be training to children and to lawmakers. You see, there's nothing inherently illegal about training people to have a tolerance for homosexuality. It is a completely legal practice in this country. And that since there tends to be an issue with people that are xenophobes that affects free individuals in our country, that it is part of the government's responsibility, even in the case of working against the biases. See, to hate homosexuals is against, essentially, is in ways against the purpose of our government. Our government isn't supposed to be operating on xenophobia. The biases aspects, like this Attorney General is displaying his own biases. The same biases are the same biases that that school is using. But see, their position is a position of basically what would be an acceptable bias. It doesn't push towards hate. See, his position pushes towards hate. His position feeds into xenophobia. His position placates to xenophobia, which essentially those type of people end up pushing towards hate crimes. The school's position pushes towards tolerance. The school's position pushes towards education that ends up teaching children not to be doing hate crimes. And so a lot of times they don't seem to understand that when they are exerting their biases, they're essentially in a counter way doing the same thing that the people that they're exerting their biases are doing. But see, some people are lawful in their bias, like, essentially it's like, it's not necessarily a placation, it's like, imagine teaching people, like right now that Attorney General is teaching people that it's okay to be intolerant. See, that's bad. See, the school is teaching people that intolerance is not okay. That's good. The government isn't allowed to do things that push towards a bad. And so the wishy-washy biased area that they're operating in, they're usually not comprehending that those are the public school. The public school knows that people in dumb hick fucking retardville are teaching their children to view things in a bad, illegal way, and that it is the public school's priority to teach people how to be lawful in our society. And so when it gets reinforced, you know what ends up happening when stupid dumb hicks and shit down in Texas start being xenophobes and start essentially what they're doing is teaching children that their positions of xenophobia end up being acceptable. That ends up leading to hate crimes a lot of times. And that currently the public school there is having a biased opinion that pushes people towards not hate crimes. And see, you people are legitimizing basically what essentially will become like those people that are fucking dumb conservative xenophobes will feel empowered to be xenophobes. And that the governance is supposed to push against the potentials for the governance creating anything that would push towards crime. And so they should think about that, because when this stuff reaches state Supreme Courts and Supreme Courts and stuff, they should realize that anything that exists on like the biased kind of ways, yeah, the will of the people, sure. But anything that the will of the people does that pushes towards a prevalence of crime should be avoided. This would be the logical way. See, to allow a Pride Week means to teach those xenophobe children that it is tolerated human freeman behavior in our country. To squash that and to play into QN and like xenophobia creates a public, uneducated public understanding that creates xenophobia potentials that ends up being something that might lead to crime. See, the governance and the public school system should be always pushing towards people doing lawful adherence. When it starts to be accepted, this underlying xenophobia, religiousness shit, then sometimes people feel empowered to be breaking laws based on those beliefs. And so when it comes to like Supreme Court ideas, they should view a ruling in the ways that I've molded it. It should always be pushing anything that the schools do, anything that the fucking Attorney General or the governor does, should be pushing towards not placating to people that might have a belief that their beliefs in life allow them to be hateful to people in a criminal way or in a discrimination way. It is the responsibility of the government, and that this is really what Supreme Courts and states are really made for. They're supposed to understand this stuff. And if they're going to be retarded, then there might just be an issue for them that starts to arise. Anything that the government does should be pushing the populace into law-abidingness. Anything. And that when they start giving credibility to xenophobia in these ways, then it pushes the populace that basically Pride Week at that school would be built to be pushing away from everybody doing xenophobia and criminal hatred, discrimination. And see, if the Attorney General is going to be pushing and giving legitimacy to their xenophobia world, then he's in a government position pushing the populace. That is basically the reason why there's a Pride Week. See, the whole purpose of Pride Week is to normalize freeman behavior And that when the Attorney General plays into people's xenophobia, that pushes the populace that it's looking to change into believing that their religiousness beliefs allow them to do things illegal. And so that's the responsibility of state governance,